friend Steve, such excellent musicians. I've worked with Marc on a few concerts over the years. Great guy, wonderful musicians, and I think we're going to have a wonderful time with his music tonight. Nothing like music to soothe the soul a little bit, escape from the problems of the world. Just an explanation, you're sitting on comfortable chairs that are fairly new. I hope you enjoy them. Along the walls, right now, you'll see a number of portraits. They are done by a group called the Americans Who Tell the Truth. These portraits will be up all month. It is generously funded by our friends of the Westfield Memorial Library, such a wonderful group working for us. So not only did they fund the portraits along the walls, which after the concert you are welcome to look at again, but they will be hosting a series of lectures this month, mostly on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. The last week will be on a Monday night, but it's on a range of topics from sports and literature and civil rights for its celebration of Black History Month. So I hope you come out to support that. It looks like it's going to be a wonderful series. But on that note, I hope you enjoy Marc and Steve's music. Just please turn off your phones, set them to vibrate. This program is being live streamed, so if you go to YouTube, type in Westfield Memorial Library. You love it so much, view it again and enjoy. Have a great afternoon.
Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Went down Chestertown and we just said goodbye. Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Once proud and shining, now she's dusty and dry. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soul whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jump the rails and roared away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul along the line. Nobody rides on the train that made this great land. Nobody gonna dance to the music. Don't call the Union Hall, it's boarded up tight. Nobody gonna dance to the music. Nobody gonna dance to the music tonight. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soulful whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jump the rails and roar away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul along the line. Nobody rides on the train that made this great land of mine. Hold on, oh dear old dad, worked his fingers down to the bone. Hold on now, mama, don't you cry. I'll take you with me if I knew where to go. train stole away and left us for dead. Nobody rides, can't you hear that soulful whistling in the wind? Nobody rides, jump the rails and roared away round the bend. Nobody rides, say a prayer for every soul on the line. Nobody rides on the train, make this great land of mine. Nobody rides. Nobody rides. Nobody rides. Hey, no, no. Nobody rides on the train that made this great land mine. Nobody gonna ride on the railroads. Went down to Chestertown and they just said goodbye. Nobody gonna ride on the railroad. Once proud and shiny, now she's dusty and dry. All right, this next song is a song about a cowboy who thinks he's got his act all together until he comes up against a horse. He can't figure out how to stay on top. Yeah! The star realized the danger. You gotta wonder, are you tough enough? And then she throws back her mane, sending sparks in the wind and daring you to touch her. You gotta take it on the chin if you wanna ride or if you wanna win. You gotta take it on the chin if you wanna ride her. So you're the king of the West, eh? You say there isn't much you haven't done, but she remains unimpressed as she bolts from the gate, leave her choking on the dust now. You gotta take it on the chin if you wanna ride or if you wanna win. You gotta take it on the chin if you wanna ride her. If you wanna ride her, all kind of fever as you touch those skin-tight muscles and take the reins in your hand. You're coming close, so close, her eyes are burning wild. She's gonna do something bad. She's teaching you a lesson. If you want it, you're gonna have to come and get her now. take it on the chin. If you wanna ride or if you wanna win, you gotta take it on the chin. If you wanna ride her, if you wanna ride her. Sure is hot. This could take all day. Gotta hold on tight. Gotta hold on for dear life. Giddy up, giddy up. So as I'm sure you guys can tell from those first couple of songs, I'm from New York. And I made a trip out west. I was 21 years old. About to start law school. I usually like to ask at this point in the concert, by a show of hands, how many people here in this audience today grew up in a state in the mountain or desert west? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. Raise your hand if you grew up in a state in the mountain or desert west.
Watching Bonanza in Poland doesn't count, right?
Not at all. Not even close. Watching Bonanza in Colorado. So I'll probably like you guys. I grew up in the northeastern United States of America. Let's give it up for the northeastern United States of America. Well, like I said, I was 21. A friend of mine and I, we decided to have a summer adventure. You know, the kind of classical thing, a couple of young guys get in the car, drive across the country, see the sights of the West, chase girls across America. This was the plan. And we were clueless. Like, neither of us had ever slept in a tent in our lives. And like we borrowed some half-assed equipment we didn't know how to use, threw it in the car and hit the road. Like when I say we were clueless, our sense of scale, of course, came from the Northeast, right? And so we had no idea what it was like out there. We didn't have any idea how big it was out there, how far apart everything was from everything else. Like I remember, one night we got to the Grand Canyon, and there were no campsites. So we just said, screw it, let's go to Yosemite. And it was that kind of a trip, you know? And we drove through the Mojave Desert, managed not to kill ourselves and crash the car. Woke up the next afternoon in Yosemite National Park. 2 days later, we woke up in Yellowstone Park in Wyoming. And then we were like, come on, we can't go back to New York without seeing the Grand Canyon, right? So we just drove from Wyoming back to Arizona. And it was like that. It was a couple of young guys, our eyes bugging out of our heads, just exhilarated from how amazing what we were looking at was, you know? Everywhere for 5 minutes, treat the West like a Milton Bradley thing. Came back to New York, I started law school. And it was immediately apparent to me that something was just different. Because all I wanted to do was get back out there. Now at this time I lived, some of you guys have probably been to Manhattan. I lived in the Chelsea neighborhood, New York City. So I lived on 24th Street and 9th Avenue. And for each of the next 5 summers, in my 20s, after that first trip, In either late July or the first week of August, I chose one destination in the West, and I drove across the country from my apartment in Manhattan to that destination in the West alone for 5 straight summers after the first trip. So it just became part of my annual deal. It's like, that's what was happening late summer every year. I lived in New York City, so, you know, I lived in an insane asylum. And once a year, I got to open the door and walk out of the nut house, and get in my car and go. And I really came to love those drives after a year of living in the city. You know, it's the only time in my life I was ever hyper-conscious of the fact that we live on this ball that's turning. Because I would start my day, the sun would be way behind me. And over the course of that day, as I headed west, the sun would outrace my car, and I could feel the turning of the earth. And like I said, I came to just so look forward to the drives. And the experience I had in those days on those drives is no longer available to us because I did not have a cell phone. So when I crossed the Hudson River, I wasn't going to be talking to anybody that recognized the sound of my voice for at least 4 days. I wasn't going to be seeing anybody that recognized my face. I loved it. And so unless you guys are like super brave and you could leave your phones home and do this drive, it's just not happening anymore. But that's what I liked about it. And one of these summers, my destination was, anybody here in the audience today ever been to Glacier National Park in Montana? Only one, wow. Congrats to you. The rest of you really have something to look forward to. Do we agree?
Yes, gorgeous.
Oh my God.
Gorgeous.
And so I can never see it again for the first time. You guys are really lucky. So let me tell you, when you drive to Glacier National Park from Westfield, how you're going to get there. Okay, basically, you're confined to the interstate till you get to Chicago. It's just too many friggin' people. You won't go anywhere. But once you get west of Chicago, for me, that's when the drives would always get interesting, because I could jump off the interstate. And I could get onto the 2-lane blacktop roads that the interstates replaced. And that's when I said, like I said, the ride would get interesting, because the environment came up to the car. You'd be on a 2-lane blacktop road. Go 100 miles an hour. Slow down to 30 when you hit the towns. And the towns were further and further apart as you headed west. So here's how you're going to get there from Westfield. Of course, like I said, you can find the interstate till you get to Chicago. But once you get west of Chicago, you're going to head northwest up through Madison, Wisconsin, and you're going to continue in a northwesterly direction until you get to Duluth, Minnesota, which is where you will pick up US Route 2, which is a 2-lane blacktop road that goes across all of Minnesota. It goes across all of North Dakota, which is a big sucker, and then it dumps you out onto the high plains of eastern Montana. Now, there is a term that is used to describe the high plains of eastern Montana. You may have heard this term. It's called the Big Sky Country. Some of you have heard this term?
Yes.
Okay. But a lot of Easterners think the Big Sky Country has something to do with the Rocky Mountains. It does not. The Big Sky Country is about these high plains of eastern Montana, where the land is starting to slope up out of the Midwest toward the Rocky Mountains. And the surface of the land is just dirt. There are almost no trees. And as a result, you can see for hundreds of miles in every direction, which makes the sky enormous. And that's why it's called the Big Sky Country. So here I am. I've been driving for 4 days with nothing to keep me company but my own thoughts. And I'm out here in the Big Sky Country, out on Route 2 in the high plains of eastern Montana. It's late in the afternoon, and and the sun is illuminating the clouds. It's not sunset yet, but it's illuminating the clouds. And it is a vast, vast scene. And I suddenly realize that I have not seen another motor vehicle for about 2 hours. And I can see in every direction forever, which means I'm the only apparent living thing. And I live on 24th Street, Mount. So this is kind of cool, right? I pull over the side of the road, and I get out of my car and survey my situation after 4 days of driving. And I involuntarily started screaming at the top of my lungs. I always think of it as the moment when I knew that this stuff was really just about free. And I was going to have it for the rest of my life. So we're going to play a song for you now called Montana. Don't know my mama, don't know my daddy, don't know the name or my place of birth. But when I got a look at the big sky country, I knew I had a home on this earth. Montana, Montana, rocking me under heavenly skies. Montana, Montana, gonna love you till the day I die. Got a home on a mountain, a home in the valley, live on a lake, live off the land. When I get crazy, there's a flathead woman to tell me I'm her loving man. Montana, Montana, rocking me under heavenly skies. Montana, Montana, gonna love you till the day I die. Yeah, when it's raining on the prairie, you can hear the angels sing. And there's a mist on the river, strips on the griddle. The sun's coming up on the great highway, with the Rockies rising in a cloud so gentle, you forever take my breath away. Montana, Montana, rocking me under your heavenly skies. Montana, Montana, gonna love you till the day I die. Oh, I'll love you till the day I die. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. So, there's one one thing I noticed about being out there that was really like very different from my regular life in New York City. And that is that in my normal daily existence in Manhattan, everything that I had on my mind, everything I thought about, was extremely important. Like every decision I had to make, you know, what I was gonna have for lunch. It was just all of the highest order of magnitude. Does anybody here at the Westfield Library have any idea what I'm talking about? And then I would get out there. Well, I was this tiny thing in this huge place, right? And instant and unmistakably, nothing was important. I wasn't important. I loved it. To have my attention so off of myself and into what was going on outside of me, what I was looking at. To have my attention so extroverted, you know? And it made me realize at a young age that there is zero fun to be had in this life with your attention going this way. And that all the fun we have ever had occurs when our attention is going that way. So this was a really interesting life lesson for me. And I think that's what has always driven me out there, you know, continues to drive me out there today, is to recapture that feeling. Like when you're 4 years old and everything is just like super exciting to you. You have no attention on yourself. And so on that note, I'm going to play a song, tell you a little story. These last time this is just a little story about a Western experience. You know, there is a flip side, of course, to this thing of like being this tiny little pinhead in the huge ocean of space, and that is that there are also lots of opportunities for getting into trouble. Bought a second-hand van and headed west on the interstate. I had a mind to get a bite, and a bite I got, and a bite I gave. She asked me if I had a light. In the back, a band played Voodoo Child. I think I mumbled something dumb. She said, let's dance a little while. Pretty soon the room was getting hot. I could have left, but I bought a beer. I felt my skin begin to scream when she whispered in my ear, time waits for no man. 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 She walked and talked me to the van. I opened up, she pushed me in. We joked and toked for 7 days. In a fit of lust, in a fit of sin. On the 7th night, we took a breath. She sent me out to get a pint. When I came back with a 5th of gin, my second-hand van was gone in the night. Time waits for no man. Time waits for no man. Time waits for no man. That's what she said, boys. Time waits for no man. Sat my butt down in the road. Coulda laughed or coulda cried. Smelled the sage and the creosote. Stuck my thumb out for a ride. Bought a second-hand van and headed west on the interstate. I had a mind to get a bite, and a bite I got, and a bite I gave. Woo! Time waits for no man. Time waits for no van. Time waits for no man. Time. Introduce the band. I want you to give it up for Steve Kirkman out of the band. So thank you. When I say the band, you know, in this concert, we're playing this album for you. It's called Ride. It's an American Western themed album. And the subject, of course, being the West, it's a very visual sounding album. And if you were to hear the album, what you're going to hear is drums and bass and acoustic and electric guitars and accordion mandolin, fiddle, harmony vocals, a big sounding album. So we're trying to just distill it down to my harmonic and guitar, and Steve ripping it up on the electric here. So let's give it up for Steve on the band. And so I'll just take a moment to give you a little bit of my checkered history, you know. So I was a bit of a drug casualty coming out of high school and first year of college. It was a drug I got kind of sidetracked by, and any of you guys who are thinking about taking LSD, I really recommend against it, okay? It's just not a wise move. And then so for a little bit there, I found myself in the wilderness, you know? And somehow or another, I managed to reassemble my mind, and at this point, I was a little bit older. You know, I couldn't really be a full-time college student anymore. I needed to have a job. I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do at this point. I mean, I was just happy I wasn't crazy, right? And so I was sitting in a car with a friend on Hempstead Turnpike in Long Island, where I'd gone to college. And we were sitting in the car one night, and we were smoking a joint, and I said, you know, I don't really know what I want to do. And he said to me, well, why don't you go to law school? So, you know, and it was just like one of those moments. I was stoned, it sounded good, you know, kind of got in there, you know. I said, why don't you go to law school? He said, yeah, you can always use a law degree. And I thought, yeah, maybe I'll go to law school, you know. And so at that time, I had a day job. I was working in New Jersey, and I was living in Bloomfield, and I was working for the world's largest manufacturer of artificial teeth. So my gig was like, I go see the dentists, I drive around, I see the New Jersey dentists, I show them the new stuff, you know. And I decided to go to school at night. And Rutgers, in Newark, actually had a law school, state tuition, and I was a state resident, and I did well enough on the LSATs to where I got into Rutgers Law School, so I started law school. Now, as I could probably tell from my story, I didn't have some like burning purpose to be a lawyer. You know, I didn't have like, whoa, I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer since I'm 5. You know, there was nothing like that going on. It just, you could always use a law degree. It was that kind of deal. And so I started law school, but and the fact is I found it super interesting, like really stimulating, very intellectually stimulating. Like people don't really quite understand that when you study the law, when you go to law school and you study the law, you're basically learning about the rules that have evolved that enable a society to function so we don't kill each other. You know, that's basically what you're studying when you study the law. I found it, I've always loved American history, I just found the study of it like super interesting. Now, another story for the people I was in school with. I mean, most of them, it seemed to me, were there just kind of hit and split, get out and grab the cash, you know. For me, I got into it, I liked it. Thing is that for some unknown reason, even today I can't tell you why, second semester of law school, I started writing songs. Now this does not make any sense. And the first ones I wrote, you know, they sucked, they were terrible. But by the time I graduated and I was studying for the bar, I had written a few songs I thought were pretty good. I was sure I was going to be a lawyer. But I did feel like I do need to get this out of my system, right? And so I felt like what I'll do is I'll make some appointments with some music publishers in New York City. I'll play them my songs, and they'll listen to them, and they'll say, well, you know, they're not bad. It's a tough business, kid. You know, you can be a lawyer, it's a no-brainer. And then I'd go on my merry way and be a lawyer, and I wouldn't be thinking about, well, what if I had tried? I didn't want to have regrets, right? But to my amazement, I immediately got signed to publishing deals by these guys who started giving me money against future royalties. They put me together with like all kinds of writers, like the kid who wrote, remember this TV show Cheers, and the song Where Everyone Knows Your Name was the theme song, right? They had me writing with him. They were pitching my songs to major artists, and it was like destabilizing, shocking. I had passed the bar at this point, but it was very unexpected. You know, this was not something I was expecting to happen. And then I had a chance encounter with a then very highly admired American artist. Some of you may remember by the name of Richie Havens. Do you know who Richie Havens was? Okay. And Richie became a friend of mine, a champion of me as a songwriter, began doing a song of mine that got a lot of attention. So, more destabilizing. Like, none of this was in any way expected, but of course, it's too interesting to put myself in a law firm working 80 hours a week. And so, the thing is that I couldn't sing at that time. So I could make a little demo of a song and play it for a music publisher, and they could tell, what the song was, or play it for a great singer like Richie Havens, and then they would pitch it. They even had somebody else record the demos of the songs that they signed. There's like nobody in their right mind would listen to me singing and say, I want to make an album with this guy as the vocalist, okay? And so my hope was that, I might be able to have a career as a songwriter, and somebody would have a hit with one of my songs, and I'd have this interesting life as a songwriter. And then I had like a super funky situation occur. I had this one song, and I thought, if a woman did this song, it'd be really sexy. So I told my publisher, who had that particular song, I'm really dating myself now, but the two big female artists at the time. One was a woman named Pat Benatar, and she had a hit called Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And then the other one was a woman who had the #1 record in the world. It was called Betty Davis Eyes, and her name was Kim Carnes. So I told my publisher, send those two women this song. I mean, if they hear it, they might do it. It'd be really hot if they did it, and of course, we'd make a lot of money, right? And then I went off on a wilderness trip to Alaska for 5 weeks. When I came back to New York City after this trip, I was standing at a record store in Grand Central Station, and I'm thumbing through the albums, and all of a sudden I see Kim Carnes' new album, the follow-up album to Betty Davis Eyes, right? And I turn the album over, track number 4. It's the title of the song I told my publisher to send her. And it's an unusual title. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna be a gazillionaire. So follow up to the biggest hit in the world. And I get all excited. I tell the kid in the store, man, drop the needle on this. It's my song. And he puts the needle down on track number 4 and it starts to play. It's not my song. But I'm like, this title is too unusual. The coincidence level of this happening is my publisher sends her the song, and a song with the same title shows up on the album, and it's not my song. It's too weird, right? And then it gets to the chorus, and it's my chorus. Like, what? Let me see the album, I said to the kid. I looked at the album, track number 4. Who's credited as the writer? Kim Carnes and the record producer. And I'm like, what? And so I flip out. At that point, I had a music business attorney who was negotiating my deals with these music publishers. I call him up, I get on the phone, I go, and he tells me, hey, just chill out. We definitely have a lawsuit. Prove the song was sent to her. We just have to see if it does any business. So unless the album sells albums, there's no money to fight over them, so you have to hang out a minute. And it tubed her career. You never heard of Kim Carnes again. Went right down the sewer, didn't do any business at all. But it sure made me think again about my whole concept and plan. And I was looking at Richie doing this one song of mine and the attention it was getting, and I felt like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to figure out how to sing my own songs, some way. So I spent a lot of years in front of electric guitar, rock and roll bands, and clubs in lower Manhattan, screaming my brains out, trying to figure out how to sing my own songs. In the meantime, I kept getting out into the West, and I became obsessed with the West. My thing was to get up on top of the highest mountain peaks I could get on top of, and to get into the remotest places I could get into in the American desert. So I had these two parallel lines running in my life, which was the music thing and the Western thing. And eventually, I became a slightly better singer. And I conceived this idea of making an album that combined these two things, these two passions of mine, which reflected my love of American music and songwriting and my love of the West. And as I said, that's an album called Ride. And that is what we're performing for you in this concert. And this is the title song. sex songs and Kmart's, Best Westerns, McDonald's. My cattle graze on the big missile range. Ride, get along, little doggies. Ride, so gold in the sun. Yippee-yi, boys, hear the dinner bell ring. Get along, little doggies, the day's about done. Can't find the campfire, can't find the kettle, can't find my heart or my steel string guitar. When I turn off my headlights and gaze at the heavens, see satellites pass between Venus and Mars. Ride, ride, get along, little doggies. Ride, ride, so gold in the sun. Yippee-yi, boys, hear the dinner bell ring. Get along, little doggies, the day's about done. Get along. Blacktops are fading, turnpikes are opening. Somehow, it just ain't the same as before. For it's up in the morning in search of the dollar, and there's no time for riding around here anymore. Did assure me that it is totally legal to dance in the library this day. Because we had been very still, you know, and just wanted you to know there's no So I also want to mention that when we perform with the whole band, whether it's a music festival, or a ticketed event, or for-profit situation, the album, this is the album Ride over there, it sells for $1,000. But given the civic nature of this event, we understand that nobody's getting rich off this deal. This is like a community type situation, right? And so we're gonna get in the spirit of things. And at the end of this concert, I hope you're listening, we're gonna chuck these remaining Ride albums at you guys for $10. I know, it's absurd. It's absurd. I totally get it. We're out of our minds. We understand. But we understand the nature of this situation, the environment that we're in. And keep in mind that when you leave, they're yours. Pretty eBay, enough said, right? Okay. Now, this album took a lot of years to make, because me and my music partner, we didn't know how to make, we didn't want you to listen to the recordings on this album and think about musicians, even. Like, we wanted every track on the album to come at you like as a visual movie. Like, you want to close your eyes, listen to the music, and just see images, scenery. And we knew that we're not studio engineers. We knew we did not know how to use studio equipment to create this effect, and we didn't know how to explain it to somebody who did know how to do it. So we had to spend a lot of years and put a studio together, and through trial and error, make these recordings, not knowing how people would ultimately react to the album at all. It was over the course of a meaningful number of years, we didn't even perform. It was so just the focus required to make the album took everything from us. And we didn't, like I said, we didn't know if anybody would like it. And then when the album finally came out, it was critically acclaimed. Starbucks licensed it for worldwide in-store airplay, and it was just really gratifying to see the response to the album. And so, two things. One is, you guys should consider picking up a copy of the album at the end of the concert for the one-time only, very stupid price of only $10. We also play a lot as a band, sometimes do outdoor concerts for free. We're playing, any of you guys ever been to a venue in Piermont, New York called the Turning Point? You know that venue? No. It's my favorite place to play. It's the best original music venue left, because Rockford Music Hall in New York City closed, the living room closed. It's on the Hudson, less than an hour from here. We're there on March 28th with a 5-piece band, and it's a fantastic place to hear this band. It's an intimate little theater with great sound, 5-piece band, me and Steve, drummer, bass player, amazing piano, keyboard, organ player, and consider coming to that. There is an email list at the end of the concert. If you want to stay in touch with us and one day hopefully hear the band, please put your name as well on the email list. There's no requirement that you buy the album in order to put your name on the email list. That's just a factor of intelligence, okay? So consider putting your name on the email list at the end of the concert, picking up a copy. All right, so having covered all that, did I leave anything out? No, okay. So this one again, feel free to dance. It's called Object of My Affection. And I know that you don't care about nothing. You just smile and pass me by. So I will be serenaded by your window tonight, saying, come to me, my soul surrenders. Show me the way you're object of my affection. Can I be your sweetheart? Through all times of stormy weather, who'll be there to calm you down. So they'll say, don't they go together? We go riding into town, saying, come to me, my soul surrenders. Show me the way to your apart. Do you walk the object of my affection? ride together now, saying, come to me, my soul surrenders. Show me the way to your hook, a party you are the object of my affection. Can I be your sweetheart? You are the object of my affection. Can I be your sweetheart? What's that? All right, struggle a little, man. All right. All together now. Ah! Ah! Thanks so much.
Thanks for dancing.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
So there's one thing, when I do play with the band, one thing I don't get to do that sometimes when I play in a situation like this is like very intimate. I do get to, if you guys are into it, I get to share some like unusual story about some experience I've had in the West. Now, I don't know if you guys would be interested in something like that. You think so?
Yeah.
It's not going on too long for you? Okay? You're up for this, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, high on the mountain with the goat.
The goat story. Okay, good. I like that idea. You interested in the goat story? Okay, let's do the goat story. So this was a different trip to Glacier National Park. And the thing about being out in Montana, in Glacier Park, in late July, early August, it's very different, of course, than here, is that there's no humidity.
Oh.
So the air is like really, dry. And you can get these like weeks in western Montana, up in the Rockies, where the temperature is 75, 80 degrees, air is dry as a bone, blue skies, giant cumulus clouds. And Glacier Park is famous for having these amazing, what are called circuit hikes. And what a circuit hike is, unlike most hikes, which is you start somewhere, you go to where you're going, and you come back the same way. A circuit hike is you start your day in one spot, and you make a circuit, and you wind up where you started, but you never see the same scenery twice. And so that's obviously way more appealing. And so you can get these, like a week of the kind of weather I'm talking about, and get out with just a light day pack and a lunch and a bottle of water, and just hike above timberline at 8 to 10,000 feet, and just with vista views the whole time on these circuit hikes. And after a few days, it's just like gets to be kind of an out-of-body experience. It's just so spectacular. Everything is so perfect. You're in shorts and a t-shirt. You can see every direction, incredible mountain peaks, snow on ice lakes, it's incredible, incredible. So I had one of those weeks in Glacier National Park. And I had one last day, one day to go. And after this last day, I have to leave Glacier Park, and I was actually flying to Spokane, Washington, west of Glacier, and I was picking up my then girlfriend, and we were gonna go on a backcountry trip in the North Cascades in Washington State. So I wanted to find a hike on the western side, so I was already on that side, you know, where I could head out to Spokane. Now, for those of you who haven't been, my friend here knows Going to the Sun Road, of course, which is one of the most spectacular highways in the world. And Going to the Sun Road runs through Glacier Park from east to west, and it climbs up over the Continental Divide at Logan Pass, and then comes down the Continental Divide onto the west side. If you guys, any of you guys ever seen the movie The Shining? So in the beginning of The Shining, when he's driving to this place he's going to be the caretaker of through the winter, that whole thing, they're showing the credits, he's driving on Going to the Sun Road in Glacier National Park. So I'm looking for a hike to do on that western side, and I picked one out that looked really interesting. I saw a couple of pictures of it. It's called Lincoln Peak. Lincoln Peak was not a circuit hike. It was about a 6-mile hike with about 2,500 feet of elevation gain. A really stiff hike to get to the summit. You know, a lot of switchbacks. It was a rough hike. But I wanted to do this hike, and so I got up early enough to do the hike. And, you know, the top of every mountain is different. You know, some are like super kind of craggy, and there's no place really to put your butt, and others have a nice flat surface, and they're all unique. And the top of Lincoln Peak, when you finally got to the end of this rough hike, was really spectacular. Like, you had the surface of the top of the peak was, I would say the entire surface of the peak was, if you were to start in the front row of seats, almost to the back wall. It was a nice flat surface of a little smaller, maybe 80% of what's left in this room from the front to the back here. Now let me describe the scene you see when you finally get up on the summit of this peak, is that when you look to the west, below you is this jewel of a 12-mile lake called Lake McDonald. And you look down on Lake McDonald, and it's surrounded by ice-capped Rocky Mountain peaks out to the horizon. It is a breathtaking view. And when you turn around and you look behind you in the western direction, there was a glacier with a waterfall pouring out of it. So this is like one of the most spectacular places a human being could ever find themselves. I really never understood why people go to the great effort it takes to get to an amazing place like this, and then sit down and talk to their friend that they're with about, while they have lunch, about what they have to do when they get to the office on Monday. This has always eluded me. It's like, you know where you are? You know, it's like, you're never going to be here again as long as you live. And you're sitting here and it's like, and since the peak is kind of small, I don't have any choice but to actually have this interfere with my experience, so I'm getting pissed off, you know. So what I do is, I walk over to the ledge over here that looks down on Lake McDonald, and I sit my butt down, I have my feet dangling over about a 2,500-foot drop. And I'm just trying to tune out this static that's going on with these other people that are on the peak, and just enjoy the scene and not get annoyed, you know, by this just banal conversation that's taking place. And little by little, 2 people get up and they leave, a group of 4 gets up and they head down the trail, until finally, the last 2 people get up and they start to walk down. And I have Lincoln Peak and this incredible place all to myself. And I know I got about an hour, and then I'm gonna have to really boogie down and get out before dark, get my car, drive to Spokane. So I have about an hour to have this scene to myself. So I'm like kind of in my glory. I mean, this is like wonderful. This is gonna be one of the best hours I've ever had. When suddenly I hear footsteps behind me, and I'm thinking, well, it's so late in the afternoon. Who the hell is coming up here at this time of day just to turn around and go down, right? And I turn around, and a mountain goat is coming up on the summit. And I'm looking at my feet dangling over this 2,500-foot drop. And I'm like, whoa. And my first thought was, I was kind of smart. There were a couple of rocks behind me, right? So I just slid back and I wrapped my arms around the rocks because I figured, worst case scenario, he gores my heart out. But he doesn't bump me off a 2,500-foot peak, right? So I thought that was pretty smart of me. And I'm hanging out there, I got my arms wrapped around this rock. My goal is for this animal to feel safe. That's my main purpose now, is that Don't feel threatened by me. I want him to know it's kind of like I'm not here. This is your place, you know. Don't worry about me. I'm good, you know. And so what I really don't want to do, because that is my purpose, I don't want to make eye contact with the animal. And so out of the corner of my eye, I'm just barely kind of paying attention to him, and I could see him kind of walk out onto the platform, and just very regal, you know, this amazing looking animal, this incredible place. He's you know, doing this thing, just coming out, you know, just being a goat, you know, doing this like stuff. And, you know, it's so magnificent that I kind of forget the whole thing, and I'm like staring at him. I forget my goal here, you know? And the goat just walks across the platform, and if you were to look at the demeanor of this animal, it would appear that he's completely unaware that I'm there. That's the way it seems. That's the way he appears to me. It's just the way he seems to be acting. And so he walks along, and he stops along the same ledge as the one where I am. My feet have been dangling over. But I don't know. He's probably about 20 feet along the ledge down from me, and he's standing there with his head in the air, just taking in this whole thing. And I'm like transfixed by what I'm looking at. I forget what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden, his head goes like this. And I just turn away. I do not want to make eye contact with the beast. I just don't want to look at him. Now I know he knows I'm there. Right? And so now I'm getting nervous again. So I don't want to look at him. I don't want to look at him. Keep my head turned away from him. After about 2 minutes, my curiosity gets the better of me. And I just, little slowly, little at a time, I turn my head towards him, and he looked away. Whoa, that's interesting. It's like he didn't want to make eye contact with me. I said, oh, that's really interesting. A couple of minutes goes by. He gets curious, I guess, and he turns, he looks to me, and I look away. And so now it's like, me and this goat, it's like, there's something happening here. And we played this little game for another, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, whatever. I don't know, I lost track of time. We each wait a couple of minutes and look at the other, and they look away, and he look at me, I look away, it's going back and forth. Both of us are getting kind of comfortable. And then all of a sudden, he starts walking along the ledge toward me. And I'm like, I have no idea what's about to happen. This could be the end of my life, but it is interesting. And he gets over to where I am, and he steps over my legs. And he plops himself down next to me on Lincoln Peak. And me and this goat are hanging on Lincoln Peak. This is a true story. We are hanging out. We're chilling on Lincoln Peak, me and the goat. And I'm like, my God. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this, you know? And an eagle flies over. And me and the goat look up like, and it was just, this is ridiculous. And so we're just sitting together, grooving our buns off, you know, just me and my new goat bud. And suddenly I realize, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I gotta get down the mountain before dark. And my heart like sinks, right? Because I know I could live 30 lifetimes. This is never happening again. And I stood up, you know, and I actually turned to the goat. He looked at me like confused. He was kind of like, you got something better to do than this? The goat looked at me like perplexed, you know? And I could see it in his face, and I looked at him like, I have to go! I gotta go! I felt like, you know, apologizing. I felt terrible. And I don't know, I turned and I started to walk toward the trail across the top of the mountain. And he gets up and he starts following me. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. And I started to go down the switchbacks. And that's where he stopped, on the top of the mountain. And I had this old Olympus camera. And I took this series of photographs. At every couple of switchbacks, I turn around, take another picture of him with his horns, his head like tilted, looking at me like, his head's getting smaller and smaller in these series of pictures here. He's looking at me, it's kind of like, dude, we was hanging. So that's the goat story. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, that's the goat story. Thank you guys for spending an afternoon with Steve and I. Let's give it up one last time for the band. We should take a moment to acknowledge the role that a local library plays in the community and make an event like this happen. It's a lot of work for people, and it's free. You guys come out here. We have a blast hanging out together. Let's give it up to your local library. We have one more song for you, and then, of course, we encourage you to consider picking up a copy of Ride for the One-Time Only completely absurd price of $10. We want you to put your name on the email list so we can stay in touch, because we really would like for you to hear what this really sounds like with the whole band, maybe March 28th at the Turning Point. Last show, just word to the wise, complete sellout, and so you would want to get tickets in advance. Now, Piermont, by the way, is a super cute town, so people like to go there. It's right on the Hudson, have dinner, look at the little shops, and then come to the show. That's March 28th. Anyway, it's been a pleasure playing for you. We're going to close tonight with a song that closes the album Ride. It's called A Bottle of Wine, a Suitcase, and Umbrella. Suitcase and umbrella, three things that mean so very much to me. A bottle of wine, a suitcase and umbrella. There's times you find no finer company. A bottle of wine leaves the pen, a suitcase for the morning train. When skies are gray and threatening, umbrella keeps you from the rain. Mademoiselle, break your heart in the end. Brother, when you start again, could you have three better friends? A bottle of wine, a suitcase, and umbrella. When you're dying of thirst and the bar boys draw you down, a bottle of wine, a suitcase, and umbrella. When the sun comes up and the brakeman's leaving town, a bottle of wine leaves the pain, a suitcase with a morning train. When skies are gray and threatening, umbrella keeps you from the rain. Mademoiselle, break your heart in the end. Brother, when you start again, could you have three better friends? Hey la hey la, hey la hey la, hey la hey la. Could you have